Hello everyone and welcome to Suspicious Silence Paranormal Reviews. How's that for an opening theme, huh? Big huge thanks to Ferdk for letting me use his cover of the Necrotaur battle theme song for this video. I really appreciate it. Links to this song, his channel, and his Patreon as well are all linked in the description below. Before I go on, I want to say thank you very much to everyone who've been watching my videos. I recently broke 100 subscribers, which I'm really excited about, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive from all of you, which honestly just means so much to me. I'm still really new at YouTubing and video editing, so hearing from all of you just makes all the effort I'm putting into making these videos the best I can for all of you just so freaking worth it. So thank you. In this video, we're going to be looking at the fascinating lore of a video game that was released in 1993 titled Quest for Glory 4: Shadows of Darkness, a largely forgotten game that I've been a big fan of since its released all the way back then, and yes, I am that old. Shadows of Darkness is the fourth out of 5 mainline series of the Quest for Glory games. They were developed by the amazing Sierra. If you heard this starting up a PC game back in the day, you knew you were in for a good time. The series was thought out from inception by Lorianne and Corey Cole. Pretty ballsy for game designers at the time, considering there were no guarantees any sequels would follow any of these games. And in fact, it was pretty much cancelled after the 4th, only getting their final 5th game because of cult fan demand for it. The entire history of the game series is amazing that I would love to cover in full, but we're here for the 4th and arguably, but not arguably, the best game of the series, Shadows of Darkness. The game is a point-and-click adventure game, a genre that has, sadly, been essentially erased by modern gaming. I've heard people argue that it's because the genre itself was left behind in gaming because it was inherently bad, which I disagree with. In its earliest implementations like King's Quest and Quest for Glory 1, the original, where every command had to be typed, I can kind of agree, but the genre evolved with the times and went from 16 colors and keyboard-only support to mind-boggling 256 colors and mouse support as well. So I don't think that the genre was inherently bad. Although Shadows of Darkness is a point-and-click adventure like The Day of the Tentacle or The Secret of Monkey Island, the Quest for Glory series implemented RPG elements and let you play as either a fighter, a magic user, or a thief. It also had a feature that let you export your character progress from one game to the next, which was very unique if not completely original at the time. Doing this let you unlock the Honorable Paladin class on the 3rd game and after, and each class had its own unique style and makes you think differently on how to solve puzzles, and each class gives you multiple unique subplots in each game as well. As for Quest for Glory 4 itself, it just has so many charms about it. The unique character art style, which holds up well even today. The sad and foreboding atmosphere in the game where the people you are there to try to save are very distrustful and even hateful of you because strangers in their land have caused them immense grief in the past and a lot of dark ways too, which I will dive more into soon.
You! How did you get here? Why are you here?
But the biggest charm in the game, to me, is probably the most revolutionary feature for a game released in 1993, full voice acting. Let me say that again. Full voice acting in a game released for DOS in 1993. That alone would be incredible, and it is. However, the voice acting in this game is just so good that you wouldn't bat an eye at it, even as a first-time player today in 2022. The narrator for the game, who has the most lines by far since it's voiced every action you do, and every different thing that you look at in the game, is none other than the legendary John Rhys Davies. Don't recognize that name? How about freaking Gimli from Lord of the Rings? Yeah, this game is narrated by freaking Gimli. And wow, his narration just adds to the atmosphere of the game so much it's crazy. Seriously, just listen to some of this.
You awaken from nightmares of flying and falling. You find yourself in this strange place, the only illumination, an eerie green glow. There's something strange about this bush. Maybe it's the eyes. Oh, forget it. It's probably just an ordinary, everyday bush with blood-red berries and tentacle-like branches. You have a really bad feeling about this place. It looks ordinary enough, but the general atmosphere of the place and the symbols of the Dark One everywhere make you almost want to turn and run as fast as you can.
People say that the earliest console games struggled with the in-game voice acting quality. Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Final Fantasy X come to mind.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute.
Because it was just too new. But look at this game that came out way earlier. Yeah, it's a DOS game, so the quality of the audio itself is grainy, but you can't say that the voice acting in the above-mentioned games are better than in this one. Also, the music for this game is amazing. It was recorded on the immortal Roland SC55 synthesizer, and it really feels like the sound matches the tone and overall atmosphere of the game. Check out some of these examples. Another cool thing about the music in this game is that there are many recurring but not redundant themes in a lot of the tracks of the game. Things like that are signs of a great composer, Aubrey Hodges. Now, as for some technical things to note, the versions that you'll get from Good Old Games and Steam both run on DOSBox, and it's pre-set up so you won't have to fiddle with the DOSBox settings or anything like that to get it working. But the game does still have bugs in it that have existed for years, so make sure you save often and save on new files, which you'll want to do anyways because there are probably like 1,000 ways to die in this game. Also, a fan-made patch was made in 2019 that fixes some of the game-breaking bugs and also adds a lot of cut audio as well as a couple of cut wraith fights that were found in the game files years and years later. Pretty freaking cool. Also, to get the music the way it was originally intended to on newer systems, you have to install a MIDI controller and the Roland SC55 sound font, but it's still playable without that. Honestly, I feel like I could go on for an hour reviewing this game without even talking about the lore. I just love it that much. There's a ton of other things I could dive into, but this is a paranormal themed channel. So, since this game is rife with it, without further ado, let's roll right into the meat of what gives this game the atmosphere and soul that it has, the lore. Appropriately, let's go ahead and talk about the backstory first. Shadows of Darkness, as well as the rest of the Quest for Glory series, has a rich set of lore. Each game is set up in a specific regions and folklores, and Quest for Glory 4 has deep Slavic as well as Lovecraftian roots. The game is based in the fictional valley of
Moldavia. The name means Dark Valley.
And its Eastern European style is fused with a fictional Transylvania to truly make players feel like they're in a strange and uninviting land. Much of the game's backstory, creatures, and characters can be read about in the included manual called Hero, the Journal of General Job Adjusting. Say that 3 times fast. If you're confused, that's okay. Lots of games back then, especially from this series, had separate manuals that acted as in-character tourist guides to the area they were about to explore. And as a side note, I miss these in games. Could you imagine if Hollow Knight or Elden Ring had pamphlets like these in their games? I think that would be awesome. I mean, just look at the pictures. and these manuals. It just gives you such a feel for the game. I love how it makes you roleplay even when you're just reading the manual. And the art in the books is amazing. I've long since lost my original game manual, so all I have are these PDFs that come with the GOG version of the game. But just imagine holding a booklet like this in your hands when you're 8 years old. It's honestly incredible. I digress. Back to the story. Call of Vuzel and the Cult of Amontillado by totally not H.P. Lovecraft. Don't want to get sued here. Of all of the so-called dark ones, Vuzel is certainly one of the darkest. Ye shall know Vuzel cometh when the very sun itself doth fear to show its face, and the shadows of darkness covereth the earth. Or so wrote the notorious mad monk, Amontillado, before his unfortunate demise, when he choked on a piece of cuttlefish. These things happen, I guess. The study of the cult of Amontillado is an object lesson for the fact that some things are better left unsaid, some deeds better left undone, and some articles best left unwritten. Amontillado was first heard of when he founded a monastery in the faraway village of Mordavia, hidden away in the valley of Mordavia. Little did the peaceful residents of this quaint little town realize the monstrous magnitude of the effect this malefic menage of morbid monks would make upon their fragile lives. For Amontillado drew into his hideous halls the myriad looks and crackpots who seek desperately for someone to tell them what to think and what to do. And so they gathered like famished vultures around rotten carrion to worship unmentionable things and perform unsanitary rites. Even the boyar of the land was drawn into the maelstrom of monstrosity. For, oh god, Baryshnikov, Valisvoltich, Borgov, god, game designers, yeah, whatever. Or just Barney, as he was known to close acquaintances, was most ambitious man. He thought that by encouraging the cult he would draw many a curious and wealthy stranger into Mordavia, thereby sending real estate prices skyrocketing, and he would thus accrue a tidy profit from location. Little did Barney realize that he, too, would be drawn into a horror only the criminally insane, or writers whose names end with King, would ever comprehend. For one dark, drear day in the dire month of October, Amontillado croaked. The monks were thrown into chaos. Without the mad monk himself to lead them, they had no one to tell them what to do. Then did Barney comprehend the magnitude of disaster looming over his brilliant schemes of land development and urban renewal. Thus did Barney become high priest of this unnatural and unwholesome cult. So came the accursed, atrocious, and acrimonious moment when Barney heard the call of Vuzel and answered it. The sun did hide behind black, foreboding clouds, and the wind did wail with caterwauling and cacophonous cries the day the cult began the vile and hopelessly sinister summoning to draw Vuzel into this world. Muttering unspeakably muffled shibboleths, the insane and misguided monks approached Mount Malign, a tall promontory south of town. Entering a small cave in the side of the mountain, they began the horrid rituals to evoke Vuzel's arrival. Heedless of the potential disaster and destruction of this world as we know it, the monks prepared to do the deed of dire doings. Vuzel waited, and the mountain top writhed in anxious anticipation. Then did the Majorana come, accompanied by the paladin Pyotr and the righteous armies of the surrounding areas. Drawn to the maelstrom of malevolent magic, summoned by the sound of sordid speeches, beckoned by the baneful and brackish blackness that besmirched the sky, good God, these alliterations! These daring and undaunted do-gooders were determined to drive the Dark One back to its distant abode. But they arrived too late. Already the cave was altering, mutating into the awful aspect of Vuzel. The armies met with the maddened monks, who too were changed by the rituals. What were once humans, albeit rather moronic and hopelessly malleable ones, now had become creatures of such horrible appearance that even the sturdiest of the stalwart soldiers lost their lunches in blue chunks. Hopelessly outnumbered and unmanned, yet did the good guys face horrendous odds. The Majorana herself battled with the very essence of Vuzel. On and on into the endless night did the combatants contend, while the world awaited the outcome in flustered frustration. At long last, the feeble rays of a hesitant sun broke over the eastern mountains. From the cave mouth of the Dark One, a single man came crawling, bearing a wizard's staff. Pyotr, the paladin, returned with all that remained of Arana. To this day, when the moon is dark and the winds are still, strange things can still be seen near the cave of the Dark One. Forms and shapes of things that were once human still lurk in the vicinity, whispering in the night strange tales of high priests that do not die, but waits within the dark confines of the cavern, guarding a ritual that someday will again be used to summon the very shadows of darkness themselves. For is this not written, in his vacation resort and club dead, a Vuzel lies twitching. So, the dark that blotted out the light from the sun itself was cast into light by the mysterious death and sacrifice of Arana. But were the gates closed forever? Hell no! You're a hero! That's what you're here for! Not a bad backstory for a game, right? Even though all the alliteration was just crazy to try to read through. Okay, so besides the obvious Lovecraftian influence over the backstory, the environmental storytelling is that of Eastern European Slavic folklore. Here's a few of the creatures that are in Shadows of Darkness and how they compare to their actual Eastern European roots. I'll start by describing them from the game's manual description, then describe them to the best of my research from ThoughtCo and some other paranormal websites and wikis. The Domovoi. This Slavic house spirit inhabits many family residences in this region. Harmless and occasionally helpful, Domovoi are seldom seen or heard. Should you actually meet a Domovoi, you will do well to follow any advice it gives you. Well, the manual didn't give us too much information about the Domovoi, but playing through the game, you can definitely get more of its characteristics, its traits, and a little bit more of its folklore through that as well. So, let's go ahead and hop on ThoughtCo and see how it stacks up to its actual real-life lore. I guess you could say it is. In Slavic mythology, all peasant houses have a Domovoi, who is the soul of one or all of the deceased members of the family, making the Domovoi part of ancestor worship traditions. The Domovoi lives in the hearth or behind the stove, and householders took care not to disturb the smoldering remains of a fire to keep their ancestors from falling through the grate. In his most common appearance, the Domovoi was a little old man the size of a 5-year-old, or under 1 foot tall, who... Wait, are 5-year-olds under 1 foot tall? Anyways, who is covered with hair. Even the palms of his hands and the soles of his feet are covered with thick hair. On his face, only the space around his eyes and nose are bare. The Domovoi is given to grumbling and quarreling, and he only comes out at night when the house is asleep. At night, he visits the sleepers and glides his hairy hands across their faces. If the hand feels warm and soft, that is a sign of good luck. When they are cold and bristly, misfortune is on its way. No thanks. Any hand rubbing across my face when I'm asleep that's gonna be a no for me, dog. Basically, according to the Slavic lore, the Domovoi is there to protect the family. Its overall appearance and intentions are pretty much in line with the game. Props to the game designers, Corey and Lorianne Cole, for pretty much getting this right. The Lishi. This spirit of the forest has a very mischievous nature and is quick to play tricks upon the unwary traveler. Lishi are renowned for their love of riddles and can be helpful to those who guess the right answers. Never let a Lishi make you mad. In Slavic mythology, Lishi is a demon god, a tree spirit who protects and defends the animals of the forest and the marshes. Mostly benevolent or neutral to humans, the Lishi has aspects of the trickster type god and can be known to lead unwary travelers astray. Sounds pretty right so far. Let's keep going. When the Lishi resembles an old man, he is extremely wizened and covered from head to foot with long, tangled green hair or fur. As a giant, he has stars for eyes, and as he walks, he causes a wind to blow. His skin is as rough as the bark of a tree, and because his blood is blue, his skin is tinged with that color. He is seldom seen, but often heard whistling, laughing, or singing among the trees or marshes. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's still pretty much mostly right. Let's see, and okay, things kind of change here. The Lishi is also prone to abducting babies who have not been baptized, or children who enter the forest to pick berries or fish. He leads people astray in the forest, getting them hopelessly lost, and has been known to drop into a wayside tavern for a visit, drink a bucket of vodka, then lead his pack of wolves back into the forest. Alright, you didn't have me there at the beginning of that part, but, bucket of vodka, my kind of dude. People who find that they have annoyed a Lishi or find themselves lost in the woods are advised to make the Lishi laugh. Taking off all your clothes, putting them on backwards, and switching your shoes to the wrong feet generally does the trick. You can also drive them away by prayers, alternating with curses, or apply salt to a fire. Well, I can kinda see why Sierra left some parts of the Lishi out. Folklore lies. Yikes. All in all, I mean, I gotta say, as far as him being a trickster and everything like that, and the whole riddles and singing and laughing and giggling in the forest kind of thing, yeah, the game designers got that pretty right as well. And also, and I can't prove this, but I think I know where Fred Durst got the inspiration for most of his lyrics from now.
2 and 2 and 2 make 6.
Jonesing for your face, so that first biscuit mix.
I'm sorry, I just could not help myself. And now we go to the Rizolka, a fan favorite from the game. I wonder why that is.
Hello there. Could you help me? This water is so cold and I need someone to help warm me.
No, I still don't see it. I still don't get it.
Hi. Sorry I didn't comb my hair before you got here. I tried, but it kept falling out. Guess I don't look so good, do I?
Yeah, that must be it. There it is. Nailed it. Anyways, the Rizolka is the spirit of a young woman who died drowning and swims in the waters that became her grave. She tries to lure others with her obvious charms to share her fate. While the charms are plentiful, the fate is unpleasant. There is supposed to be a way to release a Rizolka to her proper rest, but the method is lost in legend. Now, in Slavic mythology, a Rizolka is something akin to the Celtic mermaids or the Greek sirens. In short, Rizolkai are beautiful young women who dwell in bodies of water and enjoy enticing men. The concept of Rizolkai originated from a Slavic pagan tradition where the young women were symbols of fertility. These nymphs did not interfere too much with human life and mainly served to provide life-giving moisture to the fields and forests every spring when they came ashore to dance in the spring moonlight. The water spirits were believed to help crops grow plentifully and so were treated with great respect. In the modern era, a large mythos, mostly unrelated to fertility, has sprung up around the beguiling young women of the water. By the 19th century, the main objective of a Rizolka had transformed into harassing the human population. Now for the origins of the Rizolkai. While the pagan water nymph occurred naturally, the mermaid Rizolka has quite varied origin stories. Typically they involve young women dying violent deaths. Sometimes it was murder, sometimes it was a suicide, but usually it was a death by drowning. Stories of Rizolka often revolve around women betrayed by a husband or lover. Some Rizolkai are young women who jumped into a lake or river because she was pregnant out of wedlock. Other origin stories say a Rizolka is any young woman who dies a virgin, regardless of whether the death was violent or natural. Still other myths say that babies who die before being baptized are reborn as water sprites. This version ties in with the idea that babies born out of wedlock were supposedly drowned. Finally, some myths claim that a Rizolka is any unclean soul, in other words, anyone who killed himself or herself by jumping into a lake or river. So once again, the concept and description are definitely there. I've always known that these creatures were based on folklore, but honestly, I'm really surprised how right the designers, writers, and artists got things when it came to honing in to the roots of it. I mean, this was back in 1993 that they were writing about these, and this was back like before AOL was even a thing, you know. So it really makes me wonder, how the game designers got all their inspiration for all the designs and folklore and everything like that. Not only in this game, but in all the Quest for Glory series, honestly, because from what I can tell, most of the folklore is pretty accurate to its source regions. Alright, these are creatures that have no obvious ties to Slavic folklore that I could find anyways, but are still awesome in their own right in the game anyways. So you want to see some of the baddies? Let's start with the Batter. So the Batter is basically a spider with bat wings, not to be confused with a bullet with butterfly ones. Sorry. It's your first battle encounter in the game, and it'll probably poison you right off the bat if it hits you, which is annoying. But the in-game graphics don't make it look nearly as horrific as the sketches in the manual do. Yeesh. And now the Revenant. Well, there's not much to say about this one. In the game, it said that Revenants are the people who were killed by vampires by draining them of all their blood, but if you look at it, it's literally just a zombie, even though it does look pretty badass for the in-game graphics. Next up is probably my favorite enemy in the game, the Necrotaur. It has an awesome fight theme. Yeah, that's right, every enemy in this game gets a different battle theme, which is really awesome. And just look at the design of it, it's so freaking cool. It looks like a bear, dog, pig, half dog, half bear, and half pig. Dog, bear, pig. Hilariously enough, the manual actually says that despite their appearance, they're not actually undead. What? It's missing its freaking skin. I can see its rib cage. If these things aren't already dead, I feel like they'd die in a day if I didn't fight them. But they're tough as nails. And thanks again to Ferdk for covering their battle theme and letting me use it in my video. Go give that man a sub. Next up is a Chernobyl. When you follow a cult that worships somebody called the Dark One that has obvious Lovecraftian roots, I mean, what else should you look like? These former monks of Vuzlo's cult got immortality like they wished, but in a monkey paw kind of way. Again, I freaking love their design. Wraiths. These are angry undead spirits who hoard their possessions that they were killed with. They only appear at night in the game, and will slowly drain your life if you get too close to them without magical protection. They're a bitch to fight, and you have to grind your stats and make sure you don't die before even initiating combat with them. The Wyvern. These things are small draconoids with a poisonous tail. They kind of look like mini dragons with like little T-Rex arms. Honestly, there's not much to say about them in this video. They really don't fit into the lore too much other than the fact that, they're just here. Speaking of not fitting into the lore of this game, I can't believe I almost forgot to put this in, but by far the most dangerous enemy in the game is the Vorpal Bunny. Pretty easy to see where they got the influence from this one.
I warned you.
Alright, so there's a character in this game who is recurring in the series and isn't mentioned in the in-game manual, and this might be spoiler time, so 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's Baba Yaga.
Oh, back so soon, Cookie Face. I hope for your sake you brought us something to eat. After all, there's always room for Hero.
In the games, Baba Yaga is an ogress who has a taste for human and frog flesh, among other mostly inedible things. She's very adept with magic and especially curses. She was a main antagonist in the first Quest for Glory game, and was defeated when she tried to turn the hero into a frog, but the spell was reversed with a magic mirror. This didn't make her croak, however, she just hopped town.
Fool this man!
Hey, you cannot claim to be a fan of this series if you don't appreciate humor like that. Just saying. Despite how cool John Wick is, Baba Yaga from this series is quite the opposite. She's vile, grotesque in appearance, and is extremely self-serving. While there are many interpretations of Baba Yaga in Slavic folklore, one theme that seems to be prevalent throughout all of them is that it's usually a warning to children not to do bad things. Not unlike the boogeyman, I suppose, so I guess that's one thing she has in common with John Wick. Anyways, well, here she is in Mordavia, attracted and returned to form by the dark magic in the area. Oh, and she brought her favorite, and mine too, head on a pike with her, Punny Bones. No, wrong character. Bonehead, that's right, yeah. Anyways, since this game takes place in an Eastern European region, let's just go ahead and get right to this next one. Nosferatu. Vampires. Extremely dangerous and powerful. Legendary throughout almost all regions of the world and throughout all religions as well. It should come to no surprise that there are vampires in this Transylvania-inspired game. What might surprise you is if you're 8 years old like I was when I first played this game, is that the person who brought you to this accursed valley is a vampire herself, Katrina. Mysterious and beautiful, she moved into the castle after the failed summoning of a Vuzel because of the promise of immense power and a world forever shrouded from the sun, so the Nosferatu would never have to fear the light of day again. She wasn't alone in this attempt, however. Back in Quest for Glory 2, Adavis, your main antagonist of that game, mysteriously disappeared in a cloud of magic after you stopped him from summoning the Jinn, Iblis, instead of actually dying. Katrina spared him from his death, made him her immortal slave, and transformed him into a vampire in the process. Either way, Adavis has always hated the hero for thwarting his attempt at taking over the world, even though he fucked it up originally in Quest for Glory 2 by getting the fucking date wrong. Sorry, anyways, long story. However, throughout many interactions with the hero trying to manipulate him into summoning a Vuzel, Katrina ends up falling in love with the hero and sacrifices her life for him when Adavis ends up tricking them both.
Yes! Yes! The spell is completed and a Vuzel awakens. Darkness will fill the land, and we will never flee the sunshine again. No! How dare you!
Ah, you have just shattered the bonds which bound me. Now we shall see who is the true Dark Master.
I am still far greater master of magic than you. I am a far more powerful vampire than you. Do you really think your spells can harm me? Guess again.
But my dear Katrina, I do not need to cast spells at you to destroy you. I intend only to destroy my enemy, the one you seem so fond of.
No! I will not let him die!
A fool! I knew that a Vuzel would be attracted by that spell. Now Katrina will have all the darkness she so desired. Much more.
Old rivalries run deep, but so does new love. I actually really love the ending for this game. It really does hit. And I didn't even touch her adopted daughter subplot that makes you feel like a real hero in this game, more so than in any other plot in the series. It involves a missing daughter of the local innkeepers, Tanya. She went missing a few years back. A few of the townspeople claim to have seen a giant monster by her window, who Tanya actually befriended, and she willingly left to Katrina's castle after a fight she had with her parents. Katrina turned the girl into a vampire, so it's up to you to perform a ritual where her monster best friend Toby sacrifices his life so Tanya can be cured of vampirism and return to her family at the end.
You nod your head.
Oh, Toby, I can see my mommy and daddy again. Toby asks, what else will the staff do?
You try to explain about sacrifice.
Toby says he understands. He says you should take us to the staff now, so I can be with my mommy and daddy again. Oh, it feels weird here. Kinda happy. Icky. I'm scared. I know you'll protect me, Toby, but who will protect you? Okay, Toby. I'll protect you.
A weird voice sounds in your mind.
Death and life are now before me. That for which I am destined awaits me. The sacrifice of life for love. Your love for the child is great.
You see Toby silently nod his head.
Will you trade your life to give life to the child? Will you die willingly for the one you love?
No, Toby, no!
So shall the sacrifice be done. So is the sacrifice complete. I am again the staff of Erana.
I'm so sorry, Toby. I didn't protect you too good, did I? I love you too, Toby.
This doesn't make Katrina happy, obviously, so her and Adavis use the hero to summon our main antagonist of the game, Avuzel, the Dark One. Avuzel, aka the Dark One, is a being from another dimension that tricks its worshippers, promising them immortality and power, but in the process hideously transforms them and drives them mad. Everywhere Avuzel goes, darkness is encompasses. It physically warps the local terrain where its influence is, like the caves where you start the game and the swamps around it. Evidence is seen of this when you return to the cave at the very end of the game and are forced to summon him so that you can try to destroy him. Each part of the cave is pretty much a different part of the being, the skeletons, veins, lungs, nervous system, and the heart. However, the only time you actually get to see Avuzel in the game is if you die in either the last part of the game, or you can see it also when you drink the wine in the Dark One's monastery in town earlier in the game. Its influence is also seen in some of the monsters in the game, like the Chernobyl, and the former Boyar, who ended up being the high priest of the cult, who you have to defeat. So all in all, in my opinion, this is a great underrated game with beautiful music, art, and a great mysterious and foreboding atmosphere throughout almost all the locations in the game. It's super cheap if you want to pick it up. It's usually $9.99 on Steam and GOG for all 5 games in the series, but it goes on sale really often for $4.99 or $5.99, and I even saw it on sale on GOG for $2.49 when I was recording footage for this video. The gameplay might be a little weird to get used to if you've never played an adventure game like it before, but seriously, just give it a shot and make sure you save your game often, because like I said, there are bugs and like a trillion ways to die in this game, so just as long as you save your game, you should be fine, and on different save files. Fans of the genre consider it the best Sierra game developed in the era, and for really good reason. Anyways, thanks again to Ferdk for the music. Links to his page and everything like that are in the description. And if you have anything that you'd like me to review, any game lores you'd like me to dive into, I'd really appreciate a like, a subscribe, and comment, letting me know on what you'd like me to cover. Since my first video I did on Ryan Buell is doing really well, I figure I'll go back to my original form on my next video and take a deep dive on another paranormal investigator and see what made them famous and where they are now. Until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you later, creeps.